Thank you, organizers, for giving me a topic which is rarely discussed in medical conferences, that is deteriorating doctor-patient relationship, the etiology, pathogenesis, and treatment. If we traditionally look, doctor-patient relationship was excellent up to around 3 decades ago. Since then, if we ask this question whether the doctor-patient relationship is deteriorating or improving, it is very obvious that with the increasing litigation against doctors, increasing violence against doctors, and doctors encouraging their children not to join profession, these are the 3 parameters which tell us very, very clearly that the doctor-patient relationship is nosediving. The issue of whether actually litigation against doctors is increasing, we have ample evidence. And what used to be a one-odd case in 20-30 years in 1969, which came up to Supreme Court for medical negligence, after 1995 judgment of VP Shanta and others, this has grown exponentially. And with the CPA 2019 now in place, we expect litigation against doctors to grow much more at a much more rapid pace, and for quantums which are much higher than what we have even imagined so far. And violence against doctors, we are familiar with these images throughout the country. It is not restricted to any state. It is not restricted to whether this is a government institution or a private institution. These are images which are seen everywhere. Very frequently in emergencies or otherwise, we come across people who threaten us that the patient should get all right, or else they will do this or that to the doctor. And this is very, very common. 75% and above doctors have faced violence at work. This was a study which was done by Indian Medical Association. So there is no doubt that the doctor-patient relationship is nosediving, has deteriorated. The question is this deteriorating doctor-patient relationship a disease? Or is it a human behavior that we just find disturbing? We have to realize that today's medicine has unprecedented ability to actually do things. It matters a great deal that we decide what to tackle. If we want that our limited health resources are appropriately distributed, we must have a clear idea what a disease is and which diseases are most worth the investment of time and money. When we talk of types of diseases, we have, of course, infectious, autoimmune, neoplastic, so on and so forth. But I have added another category of social diseases. Among the social diseases are things like male preference, female feticide, deteriorating doctor-patient relationship, VIP syndrome. Why do I include these things in classification of diseases? There I'll come to my reasons. First, for this deteriorating doctor-patient relationship, what are the symptoms? Let us assume it is a disease. So a disease should have its symptoms. Violence against doctors' medical establishments, prominent symptom. Increasing litigation against doctors, increasing defensive medicine. This is part and parcel. Doctor shopping, idiot syndrome. What is idiot syndrome? Internet-derived information obstructing treatment. This is something our predecessors had never seen. We are facing this on a daily basis. Doctors exiting the country or the profession. This is a fact. However much we may try to suppress the data, but the fact is there are doctors who mid-profession are preferring to leave the country or the profession. Doctors are not encouraging their children any longer to join the profession, and bright youngsters are opting for professions other than medicine. These are the symptoms of this disease. And why do I say it is a disease? It afflicts living beings, humans. It can kill those who are afflicted by the same. Idiot syndrome, golden hour, judicial need of consent, patient autonomy, emergency patient denied treatment due to already occurring violence by another patient party. These are all things which This deteriorating doctor-patient relationship can lead to death. Judiciary laid down procedures in medicine. On an urgent basis, if somebody's ventilator is to be placed or ventilator has to be withdrawn, there is a process, a judicial process which has to be followed. If we try to follow the judicial process, the earliest we will get an answer would be within around 1.5 to 2 months. By that time, it is too late for our patients. It can unnecessarily increase cost of treatment. It can be associated with significant disability. It can spread to others and has already become an epidemic. When we see one patient doing violence against healthcare professionals, other patients are encouraged and the whole thing spreads like a disease in the society. And when you say this is a disease, let us talk of the etiology, why this thing has occurred. Of course, Consumer Protection Act 1986 is one of the prime reasons. Overly generous and unrealistic judiciary, propaganda, press, political, civil society, stingy government investment in healthcare, local politicians' desire for notoriety, corporatization of medicine and increasing use of technology. This is definitely one of the reasons. Private for-profit medical education. Government has permitted private education, medical education, and for-profit. This leads to doctors who have invested huge amounts of money into becoming doctors, and then to expect them to do charity creates this dichotomy. Selective use of law and order machinery. One judicial officer or one advocate being assaulted has raised the hue and cry for a specific force dedicated to protecting the judiciary. We have lost 6 to 7 doctors who have been killed either in their OPDs or within the hospital premises or even while coming and going from hospital. No such demand has come up either from IMA or from the government side. Rampant quackery and corostopathy, and this is government sponsored. Deliberate state sponsored health illiteracy. The government does not want the population to become educated regarding their health issues, because then if they become educated, they will start demanding. And the government is in no position to provide. Insurance foray into medicine. I think this is one of the worst things which has happened. Health is in India is not an election issue. Until the time it does become an election, does not become an election issue, things are not going to change. There is no budgetary support to tall electoral promises made regarding healthcare. Any token amount of mention of healthcare, we talk of 6 All India Institute of Medical Sciences to be established, and then we provide a measly 600 crores for the establishment of 6 All India Institute of Medical Sciences. The establishment of 6 All India institutes would cost anywhere upwards of 15,000 crores. But we provide 600 crores and make a statement in the budget that these institutes are to be created. Role of newspaper headlines, I'll come to this later. Ignorant doctors and hospital staff who are not trained to prevent or tackle violence or the litigations which they are expected to face. Now we know the etiology. So how does this happen? What is the pathogenesis? There is poor communication from doctors to patients, from doctors to other healthcare workers, between patients and their relatives. There are unfulfilled expectations, treatment cost, which has skyrocketed now, instigation by vested interests, poor health literacy, I already mentioned this, prolonged waiting, and cyberchondria. This Dr. Google is one other reason why there is so much deterioration between the relationship of doctors and patients. This Consumer Protection Act, both 1986 and 2019, made patients consumers, doctors became service providers, medical profession became a trade, and treatment became a commodity which could be purchased and should be absolutely fine Otherwise, litigation or violence is, or both, is to be expected. Under CPA, we do not have any cap on what compensation can be awarded. This threat of compensation in crores is going to affect medical practice, is going to decide how a doctor is to behave in a particular situation, what the doctor's choices are going to be in a particular situation, and this does not bode well for the society at large. I am frequently asked this question, with violence increasing in society in general, what is so special about violence against doctors that you keep harping on? Now, we know, yes, there are incidents of road rage, there is so many news daily of either rape or murder or XYZ crime being committed. And IPC has sections to cover all kinds of these crimes. But my problem is, if a person assaults and incapacitates the pilots of a plane, but when the pilot is going in a street in a market, he will be covered under sections of IPC, I can agree. But supposing this pilot is flying a plane and then you go and assault him and restrain, incapacitate him, the same sections of IPC will not apply. You are treated as if you are a terrorist. Why? Because you have a problem, you have assaulted the other person has a right to file a police complaint, that is a separate issue. But the people the passengers of the plane, the other passengers of the plane, you are putting their life also at risk. And this is exactly what happens in medical profession. When a doctor is assaulted on duty, he is prevented forcibly from providing continuity of treatment to his other patients. This is what is most important part, and sometimes this transient substandard care leads even to death of patients who are not directly involved in this incident of violence. This was a Times cover, and this is what was more than, I think, 15-20 years ago. And India follows US in most of these things by 20-30 years, so we can expect. It was reported that there was no obstetrician in tier 2, tier 3 towns and cities in USA because the litigations were leading to such high premiums for the professional indemnity that people prefer to retire rather than to work as obstetricians there. The same situation is going to come in India, and doctors today not only fight the disease, they have to fight against the disease, the costs, the ignorance, the insurers, the government, the courts, the patients, and the press. Is doctors having become commercial and high doctors fee the reason for this decline in relationship? This is another question which is asked. We have this data, and this was published in one of the newspapers recently, where they compared the treatment cost of various procedures, not only in US, but in Thailand, Malaysia, Turkey, South Korea, with the costs in India. And across the board, the costs in India are dramatically lower than cost even in these countries. But still, the public perception which has been built is as if the doctor is loaded with gold and silver. And I don't know where all that gold is in my case. One very striking example, there was a huge hue and cry which was raised when a child was admitted with dengue in Fortis Hospital. And the bill which was raised was for around 15,79,000. And Ministry of Health and Family Welfare came in between and made the hospital refund this amount to the child, to the parents of the child who had died. But the breakdown of the bill, if you see that clearly, shows that the doctor's share of the total bill of 16 lakhs was 53,900 only. The blame is entirely put on the doctors, but the fact remains the doctor's fee form a very minuscule part of the treatment costs today. And if cost was the reason for increasing violence, why would violence occur in government hospitals where treatment is given free of cost? And the reason for rising healthcare costs, I don't deny the cost of healthcare has risen. Even when I started practice and now in these past 30 years, I have seen costs go dramatically up. One of the reasons is this Consumer Protection Act 1986. Kunal Saha judgment, which awarded 11.6 crores with interest. Technological progress. The medicine today and the medicine 30 years ago is dramatically different. In 1984, when I did my MBBS, there were no ultrasounds, no CT scans, no MRI scans, no transplants, no stents, no implants. Things were just developing. Very few institutions, very rare institutions would be providing an ultrasound. That was the situation at that time. Today, a doctor and the patient don't meet till the time the patient has already got ultrasounds and CT scans and all blood investigations. Then he comes to a doctor, okay, doctor, now you see these reports and tell me what is to be done. There is no indigenous R&D and there is no support from the government for any R&D. Materialistic society, corporatization of medicine, influx of insurers, managers, administrators between doctors and their patients. Despite these, the cost of treatment still is dirt cheap in our country. Is there any role of local politicians in deteriorating doctor-patient relationship? Definitely. Because this problem of local politicians or leaders of individual castes, communities, religion, plays a very, very important role in this mob violence, which is unique to India. Usually a local second-rung leader, he will not be a member of parliament, he will not be an MLA, he will be a local person who has his say within a local community. And he wants to make a name for himself. Hospitals are fertile grounds to gain notoriety. There is emotionally charged atmosphere, death is there, hospital pending bill is there. This is low risk, no investment, no retaliation is going to occur for whatever violence you do in the hospital. Guaranteed publicity in local newspapers. This is what the politicians want to be, they want, their 15 minutes of fame. Chances of getting ticket in the next election, it increases when they conduct these kind of activities in places like hospitals. Another thing you will find very interesting. The hospital doctors are fighting epidemics, pandemics, and though not in COVID-19 times, but earlier when Japanese encephalitis and so many things were there, you could see so many TV reporters and the politicians going into ICUs and berating doctors over there on the treatment they were providing to the patients. This obviously gathers votes for the politician, but transforms the doctor from a person of authority to a vulnerable and guilty non-entity. Shouting at doctors publicly leads the accompanying persons, journalists, to accept that this is acceptable behavior and they also can indulge in the same. Is fall in medical ethics the reason for violence or the reason for the deteriorating doctor-patient relationship? Ethics is not restricted to medicine. Let us see politics. This has been, the ethics of politics has been written since time immemorial. And despite all this, what are the ethics of our politicians? We are all well aware. The point is, the violence does not occur against these politicians for their lack of ethics. I can name so many professions and where we know effectively that being in that profession, you have to be a rarity. You have to be a rarity to be ethical. So there is no violence against politicians, property dealers who are obviously most unethical. No violence against advocates, judiciary, despite people losing in hard-fought cases and having spent lakhs, even when suspicion of wrongdoing may be there. There is a selective use of law and order machinery. As I mentioned earlier, one assault, one attack on a judge has literally shaken the foundations of how law and order should be practiced, and there is now a demand of a separate force like CRPF or something like on those lines, by which will take care of the security of the judiciary. What is clear? Cost of treatment has nothing to do with violence. 70% of incidents occur in government hospitals. There is no deterrent. This is one of the reasons which is encouraging violence. Faith in the system which will protect the mob from prosecution. Role of political leaders is there. And is law driving a wedge between doctors and patients? Definitely. If you go through Clinical Establishment Act, and once Clinical Establishment Act is fully implemented, the doctors and the patients will be adversaries. They will no longer be one person trying to help the other. They will be total adversaries. There are unrealistic standards which are imposed on doctors, unrealistic judgments which are given by courts. How is it possible when 70% of the healthcare in India is provided by small and medium healthcare establishments, and the Supreme Court penalizes doctors for not having an ICU and performing a hysterectomy in a nursing home which does not have ICU, and that also in 1994. Now, this is something which 99% of the small and medium healthcare establishments cannot afford. These are not facilities which are existent in these small establishments. Are the doctors never at fault? And if the doctor is at fault today, you can file a case in consumer court, you can file a case under civil law of torts, you can file under Article 32, Article 226 as violation of fundamental rights, complaint filed in State Medical Council to cancel registration and the right to practice of medicine of a doctor. Criminal cases can be filed. Does not listen to criminal case, a complaint can be made in the district court. A complaint can be made to the employer, to Human Rights Commission, to appropriate authority under Clinical Establishment Act, to accrediting authorities like NABH, JCI, ECHS, Ayushman Bharat. Complaint have also been seen to have been made to the Prime Minister, Chief Minister, CBI. And what has all this desire to hold doctors accountable resulted in? It has resulted in defensive medicine. Excessive investigations are being done, excessive specialist referrals are being done, unnecessary hospitalizations, unnecessary invasive procedures, selection bias in clinical practice is there, avoiding risky procedures. What I used to do right, left, and center maybe 10 years, 15 years ago. Today, if the procedure is high risk, I much better, though even my experience is much more than what it used to be earlier, I much better prefer high risk procedures to be done at higher institutions rather than doing it myself. Increased cost of healthcare, deteriorating doctor-patient relationship, focus on clerical work to the detrimental of clinical, and demoralization, which is evident by doctors leaving the country or the profession, and early retirement being taken by doctors. What are the other causes why patients get disgruntled and this relationship gets spoiled? Quacks have a very stranglehold on the public or the society at present. And they have their own way of explaining disease and treating disease. And when these patients are not treated or they are spoiled, when they come to doctors of modern scientific medicine, this myths and misconceptions which are forced into their minds by these quacks create a hurdle for doctors of modern scientific medicine to treat these patients. There is propaganda and insurance marketing, which creates an impression in the minds of public, which if not fulfilled leads to violence and litigation later. Then of course we have to face this VIP syndrome. This VIP syndrome is common in all government institutions, private institutions, and it is from actual VIPs, certain professionals, even advocates, some judiciary, newspaper, the reporters, even doctors. Relatives, office staff, drivers of these VIPs also start misbehaving in hospitals and clinics. Second thing, it leads to over-investigation, cross-referral due to defensive medicine. Free treatment has been provided without any budgetary allocation. So when the politicians speak from the pulpit, they talk of free treatments, but there is no budget for the same. Technological progress. This generation has seen treatments given without costly investigations. We used to see gallbladder surgery being done without ultrasound. Clinically, a diagnosis used to be made and the doctor used to operate. Today, we can't think of these things. Lack of eye contact with the patient, because when the patient comes, my focus is on creating the electronic health record. So I'm looking at my laptop, I'm not looking at the patient. And what are the reasons for this negative public sentiment which has developed against modern scientific medicine doctors in India? First and foremost is various, irrespective of the party concerned, politicians have had this method of deflecting the blame of not having provided sufficient budgetary allocation to healthcare onto those who actually provide the healthcare to people, that is the doctors. And to perpetuate the myth, they use propaganda from high pulpits, and this leads to the public having negative sentiments against doctors. Look at what the Paschim Bengal Khet Mazdoor Samiti judgment had said in 1996, that it was the constitutional responsibility of the state to provide healthcare to the people. Today, if you go to government hospitals, these are the visuals which you will come across: 2 to 3 patients on a single bed. It's not the fault of the doctors, but it is the doctors who will face the violence and the litigation for problems. There is prolonged waiting. The resources are limited. This lady with a fracture twice had to come to hospital in Safdarjung in Delhi, where only 20 stretchers were available for 10,000 patients who used to visit Safdarjung daily. And this was a report which came on October 2015 in Times of India, I think. So much propaganda is there. Doctors place stents unnecessarily. Doctors go to Singapore, Dubai. Doctors write expensive medicines. Doctors do not work in villages. Doctors do not treat emergencies. Government spends crores to make a doctor. They steal kidneys. They do cesarean unnecessarily. They keep dead body on ventilator. They declare a patient brain dead to harvest organs. Both sides. There's a deficiency of doctors. Doctors spend crores to make a doctor. Ayush medicines do not have side effects. Biopsy causes cancer to spread. These are all myths which have been created. 1,750 under RTI, we came to know, were the total vacancies for MBBS doctors to work in rural primary health centers all over the country. You are producing 85,000 MBBS doctors every year. How do you say that you cannot fulfill these 1,750 posts of MBBS doctors? And you talk of doctors not wanting to go and work in the villages. You have not created the posts. You don't have the budget to employ them. Less than 1.15% of GDP, the government's expenditure on healthcare. Tall promises, no budgetary commitment, no regular appointments for MBBS doctors. Print and electronic media is nothing but is falling head over heels to bend to the political masters. There is so much misinformation and propaganda which is spread. It is nearly impossible to take everything head on. This stealing kidneys. This was a gentleman, he is a BMS doctor. He was not authorized to do any surgery, but he had done 600 plus kidney transplants in 4 different states, arrested multiple times, incarcerated in jail multiple times, given bail multiple times, immediately next day started operating again, multiple times. These are the kind of people who are encouraged by our system, and the blame and the problems are faced by the honest doctors of modern medicine who do their work ethically. Are doctors not at fault in decreasing doctor-patient relationship? Yes, they are. Communication is a major problem. But another issue, which is the doctors have started feeling alienated. One, their cost of medical education has been hiked hundreds of times in these last 20-30 years. Commercial charges of electricity and water are paid, which are not paid by any other professional. Ask any advocate if he pays commercial electricity or water charges for the premises he is using for his office in his residence. None. All doctors are forced to do this. Commercial property tax. No other service provider is awarded compensation in crores. Despite all this hue and cry regarding corruption in healthcare, today doctors are leaving the profession and country mid-career. And they are not encouraging their children to join medical profession. What does it say? If it was so lucrative, if the doctors were minting money, if the doctors had all the everything they wanted from the profession, why would these things be happening? No doctor today in India can match a senior advocate's, a property dealer's, a mainstream actor's, or an architect's fee for services rendered. No doctor. Various associations of modern scientific medicine, doctors, never fought against unjust laws and absurd judgments, which has complicated the matters to this extent. Doctors traditionally have been the whipping boys, where blame for whatever wrong is there in healthcare has been placed on them, and they have to accept it. This is what used to be the situation in earlier days of Maharajas and their princes. The teachers could not beat the prince, so there used to be a boy who used to go with the prince, who would be beaten in case the prince did some mischief. In summary, medicine in India today is still the most ethical profession to be in. Doctor-patient relationship is dwindling, yes, but it is dwindling because of a feeling of persecution among doctors in India, unrealistic expectations of a largely illiterate population fueled by irresponsible media. Propaganda has been used to blame doctors for failures of the successive governments. Doctors failed as a group to get unfavorable and irrational laws amended and uncooperative law and order machinery. So what are the solutions to rebuild the doctor-patient relationship? These are definitely not the solutions. Free and subsidized treatment like CGHS, ECHS are not the solutions. Generic medicines, not solutions. Stopping sponsored CME programs, not solutions. Not allowing stents, implants, and cesareans, not solutions. Promoting yoga and cow urine therapy, bridge courses for quacks, forced rural service, universal health insurance, Clinical Establishment Act, Fire Act, Explosives Act, BMW, biomedical waste rules, PCP and DT. All these are not the way to a solution. Following are the solutions: pump money into public healthcare, eradicate quackery, remove cross-pathing, create conducive environment for medical entrepreneurs, strict implementation of laws for prevention of violence against doctors. These 5 things are done, situation will change. And for doctors, they need to learn how to communicate. They need to learn how to identify which patient is disgruntled, which patient is likely to create a problem later, which patient should be given priority and should be tackled at a priority. Another, my personal wish is that you need to remove doctors from the purview of Consumer Protection Act. We from Medical Legal Action Group have already given a representation to the government to introduce a medical injury compensation and liability bill. You want doctors to be held accountable, we are ready to be accountable. That is not the problem. What we are against is selective accountability. You can't drag an advocate to consumer courts. That is not possible. But you can drag a doctor to simultaneously 4, 5, 6 forum on the same issue between the same parties. What we have asked for in this medical injury compensation bill is to remove doctors from prosecution in every other forum. Give powers to provide financial compensation, give powers to suspend doctors' registration, give powers even to award jail terms to this medical injury and compensation boards. At least they should be the ones which would in one place decide regarding the culpability of a doctor. This should override all other laws currently in place. Multiple avenues of litigation should be barred. Indemnity insurance, similar to motor vehicle insurance, should be introduced, which is reverse of what is happening in India today for professional indemnity insurance. Earning capacity should be delinked from compensation. It is not our fault that somebody is earning 200 crores a month. But when a compensation is awarded, the fact that the person was earning 200 crores a month is taken into account when awarding compensation against me. Either permit me to charge according to earning capacity of the patient, or do not link the earning capacity of the patient to the compensation awarded. We can't have our cake and eat it too. If you want me to take a higher risk on a patient, then you have to pay me accordingly for that higher risk. It is not feasible that you pay me equally for a low risk patient as well as a high risk patient and expect me to provide similar services. Expert opinion to be taken from similar status reasonable doctor, not from ivory tower experts. If a case involves an orthopedician in Bathinda, the opinion should be taken from a private sector orthopedician or a government sector orthopedician in Bathinda. We cannot take what is done in the premier institutions as the gold standard and then award compensations accordingly. Proportionate penalty for frivolous complaints should be there. Today, a doctor may be exonerated after 10 grueling years of litigation, but after that, he has no right to be awarded compensation for his harassment. So in this bill, we have asked that you incorporate a percentage of the compensation which has been demanded to be paid by the complainant in case his complaint is proven frivolous, and dismiss complaint of a negligence in case the patient party has indulged in violence in the healthcare facility. You have to leave a doctor with free mind to treat his patients. With shaking hands, he can never operate, and the situation is going to go worse and worse. We are seeing this more and more, that the profession of medicine in India is going downhill, and it will remain so for the next 15 to 20 years. The business of medicine has improved by leaps and bounds, and this is something which should be a matter of concern. Thank you so very much.